Welcome to the Dougherty County Board of Commissioners meeting with your chairman, Christopher S. Cohilas. Your commissioners include, from District 1, Commissioner Ed Newsom. From District 2, Commissioner Victor Edwards. From District 3, Commissioner Clinton Johnson. From District 4, Commissioner Russell Gray. From District 5, Commissioner Gloria Gaines. And from District 6, Commissioner Anthony Jones. Also joining us is your County Administrator, Michael McCoy, Assistant County Administrator, Scott Addison, County Clerk, Joanne Ware, and County Attorney, Spencer Lee. Thank you for joining your Dougherty County Commission meeting.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning. Good morning.
Go ahead and call to order the Dougherty County Commission regular meeting set for October 18th, 2021. Note for the record that all commissioners are present and in person. I would ask everyone to please stand for the prayer and then the pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we have to come together to do work with the citizens of Dougherty County. Thank you for the resources that you've given us. Thank you for the spirit of cooperation that we have on this commission. Thank you for allowing us to move through some very dark times over the past several years and continuing to allow us to emerge stronger, healthier, and happier than ever before. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we get started, note that page 3 of the agenda, items I, J, and K are removed at the request of the food bank. We'll be getting an update on that more substantively. I think they are addressing some of the actions that they need to take, and I understand that they need to. I think there was a realization that their application actually has to go through the Payroll Development Authority. Obviously, the county is supportive of that. I spoke with Ms. Dyke this morning about that. I spoke with Mr. McCoy. Thank you for following up on that. And obviously, we want to support them in the best way that we can. Additionally, Mr. McCoy, before we get started, could you please just give us a brief update on the vaccine drive that we had this weekend? I understand it was a very good success. I'd like to hear more about that before we get started.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to the board for supporting that initiative. It was very successful. I want to also give a shout out to Commissioner Gaines and Commissioner Jones. They attended both events, and we're going to give you a brief presentation.
Soundstripe.
So we had a very successful event, 875 vaccinated, the largest single-day vaccination event in Southwest Georgia. We're the second local government in the state to do a mass vaccination event, and it was just a tremendous success. Now, of course, nobody can do anything by themselves. So at this particular time, I would like to call our partners forward that help to bring this to fruition. So if our partners would come forward from the Department of Public Health, Phoebe, EMS, we have Public Works. I think I'm missing anyone. A few months ago, I sent a message out to Mr. Steiner about a mass vaccination event and asked if they could Phoebe could support us, and he offered up Will Peterson. And so he used his expertise to help us with operations. And then, of course, we had our internal staff, Sam Allen, who's great with logistics. And then, of course, we brought in our partners from Department of Public Health, and then Phoebe, as well as Albany Area Primary Health Care, as the clinicians, the inoculators, and then we ended up with a very successful event. We were all trying to figure out how do we pull this off, you know, because we had never done this before. And we improved upon the first time. The first time we had about 538, and this time 875. And it was just a beautiful day. We had the whole community participate. We had folks from every aspect of our community come out on with both events. And so we were a team. This was a very complicated process because there was a lot of partners, including the city of Albany. They don't have a representative here, but am I missing anyone? I think we covered everybody. But there was a lot of folks that got together, one team. We got great leadership in our community, and I just want to tip my hat off to all these folks that made this happen, as well as the 60 volunteers.
Let me just say on behalf of the commission, very thankful for y'all's hard work, and 875 is a huge number, especially like we're taking steps to move ourselves significantly forward in terms of vaccination and making ourselves a better, safer place in comparison to other areas of the state. And this is an out-of-the-box idea. I'm glad that we've figured out how to get folks there and get it done, because for every person, as I understand the statistics, you're eliminating, you know, probably 16, 17 other infections. And that's just, it's pretty incredible. So thank you all very much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Before we move on here, certainly we've made some great strides here in these last two vaccination drives here. But I want to echo what Commissioner Newsom said early on. Okay, we did a little over 500. This is just simple math. We did a little over 500 folks the first time. Then we come back, we do 875. So we had roughly close to 400 first-timers. And so what I'd like to ask this commission is to allow us to do one more drive on November the 6th, to do one more run of this, to make sure that we can get these little over 300, almost 400 folk back at another time, and also get us ready to go into the holiday seasons of fellowship and doing Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, because those are going to be great gatherings. So if we can get these folks, with shots in their arms on November the 6th, I think we're good for the holidays, and I think we'll keep folks out of the hospital and keep the beds free for folks that need to be in those beds. So that's what I want to ask this commission this morning.
Mr. McCoy, is that something that's financially feasible?
Absolutely. Yeah, we may need a little more money, but it's available and for this purpose. So yes, we can make it happen.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Right,
I think that's a no-brainer. And from my perspective, I get goosebumps just thinking about how the numbers went up last year during the holidays, right. And we knew it. We told folks it was going to happen, and then
they didn't listen.
The dead bodies just started piling, and I think it's a good point. Very well taken. Let's make it happen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, the rest of the board as well. Money well spent.
Commissioner Gaines?
I'm really at a loss for words for how well that operation was run. Whoever planned the logistics, boy, my hat's off to you, because that throughput was just absolutely amazing for that number of people. And I'd also like to mention our former mayor. He's been on the ground and jabbing with joy. He's been quite a character out there. People really loved seeing him out there and involved in this. And I just tell you, I'm very proud of the staff. I'm very proud of this effort. And you're right, Mr. Chair, there is a multiplier effect here.
Yes.
And it cost an average of $50,000 to take care of a seriously ill COVID patient. And just think, the small amount of money that we're spending is saving us on the back end just a lot. And never mind the lives that we're saving, but I just have to say I'm very proud of this event. I hope that it will spill over into other counties, and if we can promote this as much as possible, because our borders are very porous, and people are coming in and out, and of course bringing the disease with them. So we can't seal ourselves off. So another one, I say ditto, Commissioner Jones.
And to you as well.
And I certainly hope that the commission will support a second.
All right, very good. Thank you. We're now going to move on to the regular components of the agenda. 1 second. All right. Delegations. This is where the commission will hear comments of those items pertaining to Dougherty County for which public hearing has not been held or scheduled. We ask everyone to be brief to the point and consider time for others. Are there any delegations that did not previously sign up that wish to be heard at this time? All right, let's move on. Zoning, public hearing. Those wishing to speak should print their name on the sign-up sheet in the rear of the chamber. Madam Clerk, did we have anyone that signed up? Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, the first public hearing, Lanier Engineering, Inc., 21-056, request to rezone 1.45 acres from C5 Office Institutional Residential District to C3 Commercial District. The property is located at 2507 Fleming Road. The property owner is the Bayside Storage, LLC. The applicant is Lanier Engineering, Inc., out of District 6. The Planning Commission recommends approval. Ms. Gray.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we have our slide. Thank you. So I don't have the changer, so next slide, please.
All right.
So we have application 21056 for rezoning of 2507 Fleming Road. Next slide. Applicant requests that the official zoning map of Dougherty County be amended to rezone 1.45 acre parcel from C5 Office Institutional Residential District. Thank you. From a C5 Office Residential District to a C3 Commercial District. The applicant and owner is Bayside Storage, and the applicant is Lanier Engineering. The address again is 2507 Fleming Road. The location is not located within a flood zone or floodplain. Records show that the vacant parcel has maintained its original zoning since 1970. The adjacent parcels to the north, south, east, and west were rezoned from C3 commercial in the 1980s. You'll notice the zoning map here. The current zoning C5 is encapsulated by C3. Zoning history continues that the properties to the south are M1 and Ag. Most of these are vacant except for the existing warehouse to the north. The proposed rezoning allows for commercial development, which would be compatible and consistent with the adjacent the adjacent properties. Also, there is a rail that's immediately located to the east side, and this will provide possible future transportation options. The current use, you'll see the Georgia-Florida Railroad. There's a commercial use just to the north, and the property zone C3 is vacant to the east. The property has a reasonable economic use with its C5 designation, but a change to C3 zone would provide a greater flexibility of land uses. The location is a 1.45 acre parcel and is currently vacant. The location is outside the city limits within the unincorporated Dougherty County. Transportation corridors including Mock Road, Short Street, and adjacent rail line are located adjacent to the subject site. Future land use recommends that this parcel be C3. The recommended rezoning conforms with the future land use map. The future land use map, of course, recommends commercial for the site and the adjacent area to the north, west, and east. The properties to the south are recommended to be industrial and agricultural. Staff did not identify any additional existing or changing conditions that support the approval or disapproval of the rezoning application. Fleming Road is an urban minor arterial. Fleming Road has an average daily traffic count of 860, and that was in 2020. Based on the information from Trip Generation 10th edition 2018, a self-storage facility office could generate 12 to 13 trips per day. There does not appear to be any impact on the transportation network from the development of this facility. According to the fiscal year 2018-21 Transportation Improvement Program and Dougherty County Area Regional Transportation Study 2045, no state or federal funded projects are taking place in this area. There are no public transit routes at this location. The location is not located in the high traffic accident area. Planning Commission recommends approval to rezone the subject area from a C5, which is Office Institutional Residential District, to a C3 Commercial District. Thank you.
All right, very good. And additionally, any comments, questions, or concerns on that item? And the next item is related to that as well. I'm sorry, I heard someone. Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I just want to tip my hat to Lanier for coming up with that, because we were parking our county tractors and bush hogs over there. And I always figured what could go in that little spot, and these storage buildings going to be just what the doctor ordered. Matter of fact, I noticed some lighting has been installed, and that shows over there that pecan lane where all those trucks are coming in and out of there. So this is a welcome addition to District 6.
Very good. All right. Any other comments, or questions, or concerns on that matter? I'm going to go to the next one. I have to read this formally. Lanier Engineering, Inc., 21-057, requests special approval to allow the special use of self-storage mini warehouses in a C3 commercial district. The property is located at 2507 Fleming Road. The property owner is Base Side Storage, LLC. The applicant is Lanier Engineering. Ms. Gray, anything else?
We're going to repeat a little bit more information here, Chairman, but there's, of course, this is application 21057. The applicant does seek the special approval to develop the vacant parcel into a self-storage facility. We know that there was a request for a rezoning from a C5 to a C3, and of course, the Planning Commission recommends that approval to you all. I just presented that. It is not located in a flood zone. Of course, the current zoning is a C5, surrounded by C3. Special approval criteria, we look at the transportation network. Fleming Road has an average daily traffic of 860, and according to the trip generator, a self-storage facility would increase daily traffic by 12 to 33 vehicle trips per day. It's considered an urban minor arterial. No adverse impact to the surrounding transportation network should result from the proposed use. The egress and ingress of the property, according to the applicant, the property will be accessed directly from Fleming Road using a single-purpose proposed driveway. There appears to be sufficient site distance for the access way. Off-site parking, according to the applicant, there is parking provided. There will be no office located on this site. Therefore, there will be no parking required, and it will only be provided for the loading and unloading for individual storage units. The amount and location of open space, there is a proposed 10-foot landscape strip to be located around the site's perimeter, aesthetically separating the development from the adjoining properties. We do consider the number and size of type signs. Signs must comply with the City of Albany sign ordinance, and there is one sign proposed that identifies the site that's located near the entrance. Protective screening, the applicant proposes a fence surrounding the entire site for both screening and security purposes. And according to the applicant, lighting will be provided, but it will be minimal and low intensity for security purposes only. Hours and manner of operation, the applicant states that the facility will access the key code to operate daily from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. The future land use does recommend commercial uses of this site. Again, this is the current land use. This is an aerial of the area, and the blue identifies the parcel. Future land use recommends C3. It is a suitable, the use is suitable for the adjacent land uses as well as the subject site itself. The adjacent land uses include commercial, industrial, and has both roadway and railroad transportation options. The future land use again recommends commercial uses for this site, and the proposed use will not conflict with the recommendation. Planning Commission recommends approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
I have a question. Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Gray, excuse me. Ms. Gray, you mentioned earlier that the applicant recognized that the railroad was there and could possibly be of use to them. Is this a consumer, agricultural, or commercial anticipation for storage, or?
No, it would be personal self-storage. It's just that the railroad there was recognized as a transportation area there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, Ms. Gray, I may have missed, how many storage buildings are gonna be there?
They did not give us that proposed, I don't have those drawings to know.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, Ms. Gray.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. A couple items here we can roll through pretty quickly. Additional business, consider for action the resolution providing for the assessment and collection of an annual ad valorem tax to provide funds for the payment of the principal and interest on Dougherty County School District General Obligation Sales Tax Series 2021 bond in the amount of $28,565,000. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the approval of the alcohol application for Maury's Grocery and Liquor, Inc., Betty J. Amburn, licensee, DBA County Line Liquor at 4030 Moultrie Road for packaged liquor, beer, and wine. The Albany Dougherty Marshal's Office recommends approval. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the acceptance of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, Project 4297-0008-R, Albany Dougherty County Acquisition Project Phase 1 award in the amount of $3,327,308.48. Director of Disaster Recovery and Grant Programs, Georgia Collier Bowling, and GEMA Risk Reduction Specialist Hazard Mitigation, Monique McBride, are available to address any additional concerns of the board. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
My question is not necessarily for those on the phone. Will there still be opportunities for the land bank to purchase this property? And I guess it's directed to Mr. Forgy. Is there any opportunity for the land bank to participate, or is it strictly through the federal government?
We expect there will be. I mean, we'll have to make that opportunity happen, and we're going to attempt it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very good. Good information, good question. All right, call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the acceptance of the federal procurement guidance under the Uniform Administrative Requirements at 2 CFR 200-.318 through 2 CFR 200.327, General Procurement Standards for Federally Funded Projects and the Federal GSA Scheduled Rates for travel retroactive to January 1, 2017 for the Disaster Recovery and Grant Programs. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
Yes, sir. What does retroactive actually mean? What are we saying? We're going back to capture dollars for the county? We're going back to capture a procurement? Why are we doing this and why is retroactive so important?
Yeah, well, the storms happened in 2017, and we have applied for reimbursement based on these guidelines. And so we need to go back to 2017 when we first had our first presidentially declared natural disaster and started requesting reimbursement. And then going forward, these are the standards that should be used for reimbursement.
Did the guidelines change?
We never had the guidelines. Our guidelines were like from like 1991, and they were way off of the federal standards.
So does this mean that we'll be able to go back and capture dollars?
This keeps us in alignment with what we requested. So this is sort of administrative housekeeping. So we've submitted based on these guidelines, but we didn't have these guidelines.
And I think what Commissioner Johnson's saying is does the passage of these guidelines retroactive to January 1, 2017 increase our overall capability of getting reimbursement?
No.
No.
Okay.
Well, no. What I'm actually asking is because it's for scheduled for rates for travel retroactively, the travel has already taken place. So we're going back to claim that travel and to claim those dollars.
Well, I think what Mr. McCoy's saying.
Hold on one second, sir.
Yeah.
1 second, please. All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So we submitted based on this schedule. And of course, we didn't have this policy. And so now we're trying to clean that up.
Just
Just
matching our
housekeeping.
policy with the federal policy, because our policy was lagging.
Yes,
It's just housekeeping.
yes, it's just trying to.
We've already got reimbursed at the federal rate, the higher
Yes.
federal rate.
Oh, we already got reimbursed,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Okay,
we're just cleaning it up.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just housekeeping.
So you're going to better change the travel rates retroactive for 2017 because we had the wrong rates in at the time.
Yes, essentially, yes.
Thank you, sir. That answered my question.
Okay.
It did?
Commissioner Gaines?
Yes, thank you. I'm a little confused now. Is the policy retroactive or is the payment retroactive? Are we just going back and adopting a policy that we were adhering to? Or are we adopting a policy now and we'll go back and ask for additional money?
So let me confirm. Ms. Bowling, are you on the line? Okay, she's not on the
Good.
Well, you can tell us later.
line.
You can let us know later because, I mean, you may not have the answer right now,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
just let us know later if that means that there's further reimbursement for us.
Well, I can tell you, it's not.
It's not?
It's not.
Okay then.
Yes, ma'am.
It's totally for future use,
Past and future.
because you say there's no money in the past.
We're doing it retroactive.
You know, okay.
So they asked us for our policy.
We didn't have a policy for federally funded projects. This is the only time they ever come up is when you get hit by a disaster.
Right.
Yeah, and so we looked at our policy and it was out of date. It was from like the 90s, paying 40
So it's
cents
just
per
house
mile.
cleaning. It's not, we're not gonna get any money.
That's right.
Okay.
We already got the money.
All right.
Just-
Thank you.
I got it.
Thank you.
Just general house cleaning, folks.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
Anything
What
else
was-
is in the future.
Yeah.
Anything else is in the future.
Who's on first, what's on second? All right, any other discussion on that matter?
One final point.
Yes, Commissioner Gaines.
It just seems to me, though, that that retroactive is what is throwing people
throwing
off the
y'all.
language in there. And I don't know if we could just clear it up somehow and make sure that it is the policy that is retroactive and not the funding.
It's the policy that's retroactive to cover us.
Just for travel.
Yeah, yeah, and purchasing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay. I'm gonna call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. All right.
But, Mr. Chair, I would say that if you can really finally clear it up, it would be good. Just send us a note.
Sure.
Very good. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. As with anything involving the federal government, it can be complicated. All right. Consider for action the resolution declaring the listed vehicles and equipment as surplus and authorizing the disposal of or sale of same via an online auction. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, let's call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the recommendation to approve the State of Georgia Physical Recovery ARP Broadband Infrastructure Improvements Grant. The total project is $15,588,140, with the county's match being $1,001,346. Funding will be provided by the American Rescue Plan. The application deadline is at the end of the month. Mr. Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Y'all did tell us early on to start looking into broadband expansion through the unincorporated part of the county. We did do this, and we're asking for approval to submit an application for the Coronavirus State Recovery Program through Southwest Georgia Regional Commission for the expansion of broadband infrastructure to unserved or underserved households and businesses in the unincorporated county. The total application will be for $15,588,140, with the county's match being $1,001,346. The project will reach about 90% of the unincorporated areas that are underserved or unserved. Some of them, a lot of our west part of the county is plantations, or there's not really the density there to reach. So we're targeting 90% at least of the people that are in the unserved or underserved areas of the county.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. This is
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Brown, this is our first time hearing about our broadband project. We've been talking about doing it, but can you kind of bring this to the front porch and just make it very, very plain? So the wire or the fiber cable is already in Albany, Dougherty County? It's not?
No, it would have to be installed.
Okay, so do you know about where in Georgia this wire cable is?
No, there's access to fiber already in Dougherty County.
Okay.
It's just we're going to have to extend those lines out to the areas that don't have the lines currently.
So we're going to contract with AT&T to trench, lay fiber to these areas where there has not been
That is correct.
fiber before.
That's correct.
And then then on the consumer retailer side, they'll be able to just AT&T or whoever they purchase lines through, they'll be able to purchase services through those companies.
That's correct. It would if AT&T puts their skin in the game, then it would be AT&T's infrastructure.
Okay. Are they putting their skin in the game, or is it just federal government, ARP, federal government?
We can go to item number G, and that'll sort of bring it full circle.
Help me out. One more question. So in areas where people have depended on satellite internet, this will kind of eradicate that issue.
Yes, sir. If we do target one of those areas where they are using satellites for their internet needs, then they can cancel that and move to the fiber.
Okay. I'm asking these questions for a reason. We talk about broadband a lot, and people say they know about it, understand it, but it can be complex. My next question is, who is directing the direction of these lines? Would it better benefit the AT&T customer, or are they going where the county needs them to go?
It's probably a little bit of both. You're trying to target the more high density areas instead of trying to reach 3 miles for one customer. You're trying to reach maybe 4 for 50. It's a cost to benefit ratio, and currently, the design and the specific layouts haven't been done. Once the grant is approved, then more details will come out on what actual areas we're targeting for sure. Because a lot of the information we're using or they're using is proprietary information, and they would like to get the grant approved and submitted prior to getting into the details. But once the application is submitted and approved, then more details will be coming out.
And so just, and my point is, I don't want a corporate proprietary institution to use federal government dollars to drive where they make more money. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
And still leave people in unincorporated area uncovered with broadband services, with things going further into rural people moving out of, more so. I just want to make sure that we don't just target the better customer versus the people who are really at need.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we can provide more information as this develops with that concern.
Thank you.
I think it would be good, to that point, when we're ready, if we could have GIS show like a map where the covered areas are going to be, are potentially going to be, and also so that we can see in terms of our investment, the number of households that's going to hit.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm really acutely in touch with this issue, especially after COVID, and while we were sending a bunch of kids home from school. And I will tell you, secondarily, a lot of folks that work at the Marine base live in our unincorporated area. And our ability to have broadband has remarkable consequences, is not the right word, benefits that are beyond just being able to click on Facebook. It determines whether or not someone at Marine base who's working from home is capable of, working with someone in the South China Sea to figure out how to to fix a piece of equipment, and that directly impacts the base, which is obviously one of our #1 employers. So I think that would be great. I'm very thankful that y'all have worked hard on that, and appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Jones, and then I'm going to call on Commissioner Gaines.
I'm a proponent for broadband, but to sit here and to see that AT&T is going to be the sole vendor and running their lines, and then at the end of the day going to be able to say grace over this thing, I think there should be. I think that we're going to put $1 million or so from the county, from taxpayer money. I think we need to have somebody else online too, because what happens is in the long run, I want broadband and everybody else does, but here it is at the end of the day, if AT&T is calling all the shots, then at the end of the day, when the prices go and they just continue to elevate and we don't have a choice, that doesn't sit well with me. I think we should have somebody else there at the end of the day, that we need to have options so that you can keep costs where people can afford it. That's just for me, from where I'm sitting at. I don't think any one company should control the broadband coming in unless there's nobody else to do it.
Well, just piggybacking on that before you ask your question, I know somebody's got to be the first one to run lines. AT&T, once they get these lines in, they could sublease these lines out to other vendors to provide internet service. There's a number of things that they can do within the internet and telecommunications world from a business perspective. So yes, you may only have one choice for wired fiber internet, but there's other choices available, i.e., the satellite and line of sight as well.
So can I just
Right,
piggyback?
I just want to see that in writing to make sure that that's what we're going to be doing.
Let me add this from the broadband perspective.
Go ahead.
You just want to make sure it's not an exclusivity agreement with this, that no one else can
No
come
one
in
else.
behind it,
That's
right?
what I'm talking about.
Well, let me just say this. Marbell actually probably owns all the lines in this part of Georgia, this part of the country. They were the ones that initially started the G services. They started the 3G service, and they've been the market leader, and that's AT&T, in this G service. So they started 3G, 4G, 5G, and they actually probably own the infrastructure, whereas I get my cable from Mediacom, for instance. But after the storms of 17, it was AT&T that actually came back and put the lines back up and installed the line service for us, but my carrier is actually Mediacom.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about from a cost perspective, from consumers. buying.
Consumer and
That's
competition,
what I'm talking about. I don't care.
from the competition side of it
Right.
is what we're talking
That's
about.
what I'm talking about.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't care who puts it in, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that our folks are going to get a reasonable amount of service for a reasonable cost.
All right, let me do this. Mr. McCoy, could you speak to this issue?
Yes, sir. If you all recall immediately after the general session, the state made money available to go after broadband. So you'll see item number M is the comprehensive plan. We couldn't submit to go after the broadband state money because broadband was not a part of our comprehensive plan. So we cleaned that up. So you'll vote on that on M. Relative to, and then they end up with the ARP money. And so they contacted us in September, said, hey, we need your proposal at the end of the month. I'm assuming a lot of local governments pushed back, because that was only 2 weeks, right, to put your shovel-ready project together. So they pushed it back to October. But prior to that time, companies were reaching out. A county to our north has a provider. Dougherty County is not that provider's priority. I guess we're not on their priority list. So this is best practice. This is the standard. Most local governments that are submitting these applications for broadband support with state's ARP money have had to find some service provider because most counties do not provide broadband service. So everybody has partnered with a provider. And so in our case, it just happens to be AT&T. If it were not for this grant money, we would not have broadband in Dougherty County from anybody because it's not economically.
Yeah, it's a $16 million investment.
Completely.
And AT&T is putting skin in the game, so we think we have a very attractive proposal here because most people are probably not going to be in this situation that we're in. That's one of the grading criteria is local match. So we're submitting a match as well as AT&T.
It's sort of a cyclical thing. I mean, I hate to say that it's like build it and they will come, but to a certain extent, if you have broadband access, you're more likely to increase population because obviously that's an amenity that's very useful. And you can't really build competition until you have infrastructure and potential 60. I mean, we're not guaranteed to get this. We're going to be competitive.
It's competitive, yes.
With numerous other counties across the state. I would suspect we're probably one of the few counties that were able to pivot this quickly and actually submit a comprehensive application for the money. But a $16 million investment, I also would say this, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't that infrastructure also get taxed on the front end a bit, like we did with the pipeline?
I think they pay a franchise fee or something.
That was what I was looking for. That's a high value, and I would just also say this, to the extent that we could capture in our grant application the fact that this will also support folks that work from home, that work at the Marine base. I'm telling you, that is a very, very important factor. It was very important to the folks at the Pentagon when I was speaking to them. So I think that would be a valuable component that we're the only folks with a Marine base. And that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, this is our only real shot to really get broadband. Before it was just a lot of talk because there was no money. And the state didn't have, they have like $350 million, I believe, for broadband from ARP. When we first started having this conversation, the state didn't carve out that much money. And so this is the county's, a lot of us, our only real opportunity in rural areas to get broadband in the unincorporated area.
Well, I think it warrants the discussions out. It is like a work session, a regular session, work session for us because we're seeing this information for the first time. So I'm asking a lot of questions because I know it's one of DCA's priorities as well, that rural broadband is expanded for educational reasons, as Mr. Chairman has stated, and also for health reasons, the 5G reasons, the technology for EMS, county police, it kind of ups that ante a little bit for telemedicine. And so I just want to make sure, I know the city of Albany also offers fiber, cable services as well, and a lot of people have benefited in new neighborhoods at this advanced fiber that the city offers. North Oakland, not pointing anybody out, point fingers, but other areas have benefited where old customers can't get those same services because of this new wide fiber, and I know the city offers that service. Right. Were they able to bid on this process, or no? What are you saying? Your face saying something to me. What are you saying?
The city, you're right. They made a business decision to go outside of Dougherty County and provide these services, and so that is a reality. And so we reached out to them early on in this process. We reached out to several partners because that's the key to being able to submit an application, having a partner. And so we went through several and ended up with AT&T.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Yes, Commissioner Gaines?
Thank you, finally. It seems like a real opportunity on its face. I'm looking at the map that's included in our package, and it does raise a curiosity with me, and that is, I mean, there's not a lot of density left here. I'm curious how many, when will we know how many people will be served by this and where they're located? It's kind of hard looking at the map to imagine
Right.
where the money for the dollar is in this project.
Yes, ma'am, that's the map you have. We didn't have everything, you know, for the commission, we don't have all the specifics on specific neighborhoods and roads that you're talking about. That right there came from the state. That's the areas of just unserved or underserved. So a lot of those areas in the far west won't be concentrated on just because of the density is not there. If you look
The
into
areas where?
in the far west of the county.
Far west?
Yes, ma'am. And if you do look in the agreement with AT&T,
Yes.
they've projected new customers of 3,116 new customers, which is
3,000
yes, ma'am.
new customers, but we don't know where they are.
Not
Precisely.
very deep, not precisely. That's correct.
When will we know where those?
I can get with AT&T. We started receiving some other maps late Friday. We just couldn't get it in and verify what we were actually looking at.
Okay, that would be good. It would be good
Yes,
for people in those neighborhoods to know that they can expect this.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. And like I said,
I'll look forward to receiving that information. That's very key. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you all. Did I already call that for a motion in a second? We're on discussion? Okay. Those in favor signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Excellent information. All right, consider for action the resolution providing for the approval and execution of a memorandum of understanding between Dougherty County, Georgia and AT&T Georgia AT&T for the purpose of having AT&T design, construct, and deploy a 100% fiber optic wireline network in the unincorporated area of Dougherty County. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the resolution providing for the approval and execution of a temporary grading and slope easement agreement between Dougherty County, Georgia and Aldi, Inc., Georgia on property owned by Dougherty County described as Liberty Expressway, holding upon County Attorney Mr. Lee.
Mr. Chairman, the commissioners, the sloping easement is in order, and I think Jeremy can address that better than I can.
Okay,
Okay, this is for development. It's just to the south of where you see Buffalo Wild Wings now currently. There's that big lot right there. We've got a developer there that's proposing a retail development, and they want to encroach on our property 15-foot temporarily to tie in the grades and other improvements that they need on their property. So it'd be just a temporary for them to go in, do some grade work, and then get back out once they're complete.
Aldi's grocery store.
Say,
Aldi's grocery store.
I cannot hear you.
Aldi's grocery store.
Aldi's grocery store. Thank you. All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I, J, and K are removed from the agenda. We're now on to L. Consider for action the recommendation to approve the Putney Park grant application. The county previously submitted an application for a DNR grant for improvements to the park, but it was not accepted. The scope of the project has been revised for resubmission. The total project amount is $432,000, with the county's match being $232,000. Funding will be provided by T-SPLOS. The application deadline is November 1, 2021. Mr. Brown.
Yes, this is, if y'all recall, this time last year we submitted the Putney Park improvements for a state grant. That last year that was not accepted. We did not qualify to go to the next round. So we're trying something a little bit different grants, basically the same qualifications. The grant maximum amount went down a little bit, so we had to adjust our project slightly to get it back into budget. But we recommend approval for submitting this grant.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Being none, call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Consider for action the resolution providing for the approval and adoption of the 5-year comprehensive plan update and community work program. The plan must be adopted no later than October 31, 2021 by the county to maintain its status as a qualified local government planning and development director. Mr. Forgy, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This is a request to approve the 5-year update to the comprehensive plan. Every 5 years, the local government has to do something with the plan. In 5 years, we'll have to completely rewrite the plan and adopt a new one. This is just a 5-year check-in, so we look at what was proposed 5 years ago and say whether or not it was done and create a new 5-year work program for the next 5 years. There's one additional thing that's going on right now. Mr. McCoy mentioned it previously. We're adding a broadband component to the comprehensive plan, and this will put you in a position where you can apply for state funding for broadband activities. If you have any other questions about this, I'd be happy to field them.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. The economic development part of it, is this ongoing economic development part?
Well, that's one of the sections of the comp plan, the economic development, and there are new goals that were put in for economic development in the county.
Can you do off the top of your head what the new goals were?
I do not.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the zoning consideration of Lanier Engineering, Inc., 21-056 request to rezone 1.45 acres from C5 Office Institutional Residential District to C3 Commercial District. Property is located at 2507 Fleming Road. The property owner is the Bayside Storage, LLC. The applicant is Lanier Engineering, Inc. Planning Commission recommends approval. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? There being none, call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consider for action the special approval request of Lanier Engineering, Inc., 21-057 to allow the special use of self-storage mini warehouses in a C3 commercial district. The property is located at 2507 Fleming Road. The property owner is Bayside Storage, LLC. The applicant is Lanier Engineering, Inc., District 6. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? There being none, call the matter for a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. McCoy.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lee, redistricting update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think if the county commission remembers, somewhere around a month ago or so, prior to the 2020 census final figures being in, I gave you some information on
Mr. Lee, can we get that microphone a little bit closer to you, please, sir? I'm sorry, I can't hear everything. It's also because we're in these penalty boxes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, that is perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think if the commission remembers, about a month ago, I gave you some information on redistricting, and that was prior to the final 2020 census count being completed. Well, of course, as you know, the 2020 census counts have been completed, and now redistricting is upon us. So I thought I'd bring you up to date on a few things that you're going to need to move forward with your redistricting effort. And the first thing I have there, if you'll just pull it up, is you'll see where there's a list of the commission districts and the numbers in each district population-wise for the 2020 census, and down below it, commission districts with the numbers population-wise for the 2010 census. You'll notice that in all of those, with the exception of District 1, they've lost population. Each district has lost population. If you want to write this down, I didn't put it on that list, but the loss of population for the last 10 years in Dougherty County is 8,000. Let's see, it's 8,775 people. That's a 9.3% decrease from 2010 to 2020. So what that simply means is that each one of these commission districts is now malapportioned. And when we talk about malapportionment, what we're talking about is one person, one vote. Each district, as you know, is supposed to represent approximately the same number of citizens based on the 2020 census. That means that if you divide six commission districts into the 85,790 people that we now have, that you're supposed to represent 14,300 people. That's 14,300 people. And of course, as you can see up on the 2020 census, the only one that comes close to that is District 6. So that makes us malapportioned, and that means that we've got to redistrict according to the 2020 census. Now, if you'll go to the next set of documents, the one, quite frankly, the one that says what's the difference on it, up at the top. The one that says what's the difference. Well, just as a matter of information, people talk about reapportionment, and they talk about redistricting, and they talk about them as if they're interchangeable, but they're really not. If you look there under reapportionment, reapportionment is simply the reallocation of United States congressional district following a decennial census. Well, that means some states throughout the United States gain population sufficient enough to have an additional congressman. And some states throughout the United States lost population enough to reduce the number of congressmen that they were allocated for that state. The state of Georgia did not budge. We keep our 14. So there will be no reapportionment effort in the state of Georgia. Now that's different from redistricting, where we are today. Over in the right-hand column, redistricting is the redrawing of district boundary lines. And it occurs at all levels of election districts in the state of Georgia or in any other state. And that means school boards, city government, and local government. Go to the next page. Local redistricting process, and this comes about as a result of Senate Bill 177. Here's how each one of the governing bodies goes about it. We request a legislator to sponsor us, a state senator or a representative from our local delegation. Now, the county delegations, our local delegation, may have requirements. They may have rules and procedures that they operate on. So we'll have to find out what those rules and procedures are. But we're going to need to request either a state senator or one of our representatives to sponsor us with our redistricting effort. The legislator needs to notify my office. My office is the Legislative Reapportionment Office of the Georgia General Assembly. Now, we can run local ads before session begins. That's really not important right now. The next page, local redistricting process continues. Determine who you will work with to create a draft map. And what we're talking about with a draft map is simply a redistricting plan, getting to as close as we can for each district 14,300 Now, we can do that in one of three different ways. We can do it through the Legislative Reapportionment Office. We can request them to redraw our map for us to take a look at. We can do it through our own GIS department. It's a combined department for Dougherty County and the city of Albany. Or we can hire a consultant or some other group to come in here and help us draw our plan, trying to redistrict to apportion ourselves to as close as we can again to 14,300 people per district. Go to the next page. GIS staff or other consultants can draw our desired map. That's if we don't use the Legislative Reapportionment Committee to do it. We can do it on our own, or as I said, we can hire a consultant to do it. Now, then we submit our map that we draw on our own or through our consultant to the Reapportionment Office for technical review. And this takes place before any action on our map is taken by us. Then there'll be a certification form provided from the Legislative Reapportionment Office. And if there are concerns with the Legislative Reapportionment Office, adjustments can be made either by them or either by us or the creator of the map. If the adjustments are made outside of the Legislative Reapportionment Office, another review with them must occur before the certification is provided and we can take action. And then, of course, after all of that, the local body adopts a new map. That will be us or the school board or the city. And that's our new map. The next page. Notification should be sent to our legislators of our desire for legislation to enact the map. And it should be sent, of course, to the Reapportionment Office also. Next paragraph. Legislation will not be drafted until it is requested by a state legislator, either our state senator or one of our House members. Members of the General Assembly have the ability and authority to draft their own versions of the local district map. Now, that doesn't normally happen. Let's go to the last page. Implementation. Maps become official upon passage by the General Assembly and signature by the governor. That's with all legislation. Maps, data, and any assistance that the Legislative Reapportionment Office can offer will be given to our local elections office or to us at our request. Now, I think everybody knows on the last bullet there, should Congress reinstate a formula and pre-clearance if required, maps will not be final until then. What that simply means is Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which required pre-clearance in some states and local jurisdictions by the Justice Department before they could be enacted, was repealed or found unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court. And what it means here is that, of course, as you know, Congress is now considering a new Voting Rights Act, and they may reinstate Section 5 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. If that happens, then, of course, our plan will have to go up to the Justice Department for their review. We don't need to talk about or get into weeds right now on the words that are used under their review, such as stacking, packing, and cracking, so as not to dilute minority voting strength. But those are some of the words that we'll come up with at a later date, and we really should consider them, quite frankly, even though Section 5 review is not needed. You do have a section under the Voting Rights Act of 1965 known as Section 2. Section 2 simply says that there shouldn't be any discrimination or dilution of minority voting strength when we draw our map. So while we won't be considering maybe at this particular point in time Justice Department review, it would be good to keep in mind those same requirements while we're drawing our legislative map. Now let's go to what I handed out before, and let's talk briefly about the redistricting process. If you recall, I did hand out you some information about a month ago, and you've got it there in the next packet of information. But I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I'll simply change one thing in there when I said that the census was not there, that it looked when in fact I've redone that up at the top. We lost 8,775 for a 9.3% decrease in population over the last 10 years. So that obviously still means, again, that we've got to redistrict to keep from being malapportioned and to create one person, one vote. Now, in the past, what we've done, we worked with 10 years ago, we worked with the school board. I think, as you know, the school board has 6 single-member districts with 1 member elected at large. That at-large member does not run as chairman of the school board. That large member just runs as a single member of their 7-member district. And their 7 members then elect their chairman. Well, on the Dougherty County side, of course, you know that we have the same 6 single-member districts, but our chairman is elected at large for a 7-member commission. So we worked 10 years ago with the school board like this. The chairman appointed a redistricting committee of 3 people. The school board appointed a redistricting committee of 3 people. Those 6 folks got together. They understood what they were supposed to do. They gathered information together. And then they hired Linda Meggers, who was a former head of the Georgia Legislative Reapportionment Committee, to come down and draw them a plan and to work with them on redistricting. And I see Mr. Wright already shaking his head. And so they came down and they worked with the redistricting committee. And the redistricting committee, then working with Linda Meggers, came up with a redistricting plan. And that's the redistricting plan that both this board and the school board is now operating on. But of course, as you've seen from the new 2020 census figures, that is malapportioned now because of the loss of population. So, and I also included in there a write-up on unification and consolidation of city and county governments. I'm not going to go over that again, but that is a possibility also. So let's go to the last page of that information I submitted to you about approximately a month ago. You'll see a letter there to the chairman dated October the 4th, and he's simply saying that let's institute that same process again that we had 10 years ago, and we'll appoint a redistricting committee, and you have your chairman appoint a redistricting committee. They'll get together and they'll work on a redistricting plan so that both the school board districts and the county commission districts are one and the same, to keep it from not being confusing with the general public. So that's where we are now, and you've got to move forward somehow or other with a redistricting plan. And Dean Fennessy, the chairman of the school board, has asked that we move forward the same way that we moved forward 10 years ago. That's what I have, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you for providing that comprehensive update on this. I've had to learn a lot about the redistricting process over the past several weeks, and I know we've had some commissioners that have asked about it as well. It's my intention to appoint a redistricting committee to work in collaboration with the school system at the request of Chairman Fennessy. I'm going to be communicating with commission members this week. I'm still thinking through that, but I'll be communicating with commission members this week, the ones that I had in mind to serve on that committee, and speak with them personally to see if they would agree to serve on that committee. It is going to be a time-consuming process. There is some work to be done, and just want to have those conversations with those potential commission members. So very good information. Any comments or questions from the commission? All right, let's move on. 1 second. Very good. Commissioner Edwards.
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Gaines?
Once again, I want to compliment specifically the county staff for Saturday's event. Earlier, I did compliment the entire team, And as Mr. McCoy said, it did take the work of the entire team to pull that off in such grand fashion. But I want to specifically, at this time, commend Mr. McCoy and the entire county staff for an excellent job, excellent job.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Commissioner Gaines. Commissioner Jones?
I'd just like to echo the same thing. Dougherty County, putting its citizens first.
Very good. Commissioner Johnson?
I have nothing further, sir. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Newsom?
Not a thing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gray?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Adjourned.